Hello everyone, this is Prerna Arora Singh speaking from Jaipur, Rajasthan, India. And I, as asked you today morning also, that I'm going to bring one international guest. Many of the global friends already know him. He's a very renowned and very, uh, knowledgeable person and very famous also. We have Mr. David Ward from Towards Zero Foundation organization. And who is David? David is a president of the Towards Zero Foundation, a UK registered charity promoting safe and sustainable road transport worldwide. Transport Zero Foundation has consultative status with the United Nations and supports implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals and the UN Decade of Action for Road Safety 2021-2020. Major projects managed by the TGF include the Global New Car Assessment Program, the Global ANCAVE that promotes motor vehicle safety and independent consumer rating. So welcome David to our show. Name is Drive Safer, Mission Possible, and hope I I hope you have an idea of how we have derived this program. But I just want to show you one our program introduction, that how we have reached on this. We have introduced one safe speed challenge program where five women driver convoy was started from Wagah border to reach to the Kanyakumari, and they have flagged off by the Honorable Transport Minister and Honorable Defence Minister of Government of India on 18th of January from the National Road Safety Month inaugural activity, and it was finished on 29th of January itself. But later on, because it was the to challenge the road users that we can drive in a safer speeds with maintaining distances and maintaining all the safety protocols which we have to follow on roads, and we can do it every single day for a longer like 500-600 kilometers as well. So this was successfully completed by the our women drivers. So this is a one program which you can have a look. So as you have seen that within the traffic system which we have currently in our Indian roads, our drivers were successfully, completed this journey while maintaining all the speed limits and distancing and all those safety procedures. So this was the idea, to just make a challenge to the all road users to understand what is the safe speed is all about, and because it's a our decade of action, next decade of action program as well, that we have to slow down. The Global Road Safety Week is also theme is slowing down and maintaining the safe speed. So from there only we drive this national campaign, and it is taken very well off. So that was the idea which I wanted to tell you, that this is the program which we have run, and it's gonna go for a longer period now. We'll take it further to the down the line. Now I want to ask you first very beginning question about you yourself. Though I have read, introduce something about you, but I know you are working in road safety since, like, I don't know, decades kind of thing. So if you can explain what major projects you have done so far and about your journey. Over to you,
Well,
David.
thanks so much, Myrna, for the opportunity, and congratulations both on this show and the initiative
Thank you.
you just highlighted. It's really impressive, and
Thank
it's
you.
really exciting to see across India. I've really noticed over the last few years the sort of flourishing of a kind of road safety culture, and organizations and leaders like you doing this. So it's very encouraging to see. And yeah, I've been on a long sort of road safety journey myself for
Yes.
getting on for 25 years or more.
Yeah, I think so.
And I started out particularly with an interest in vehicle safety. And
Mm-hmm.
this was mainly back in Europe in the mid 1990s, where I was involved in discussions over European vehicle crash test standards. And we had a lot of discussions and arguments with industry and with governments about improving those crash test standards. And that led to the creation of the European New Car Assessment Program, which was an independent consumer rating. And then a bit later, in just after 2000, I had the opportunity to help set up the FI Foundation, which is a philanthropy created by the automobile clubs. And we were very fortunate. We had a large endowment of $300 million. So I was able to create this foundation. And we started doing a lot of advocacy work on road safety, and working in partnership with the World Health Organization, the World Bank, and so on. So really, I've been involved in all of those things sort of ever since. And really two big themes, I think. One is trying to develop a global narrative about road safety and a policy-making agenda for the international community. And that led to the first decade of action that we've just finished. And also the series of ministerial conferences, the first one in Moscow in 2009, and the most recent one
Yes.
just nearly a year ago in Sweden. And then also on the vehicle side, I got involved in launching new car assessment programs in the emerging markets. First in Latin America, Latin NCAP, then ASEAN NCAP, and then more recently the Safer Cars for India project, and then a new one in Africa doing the same sort of thing, all under the umbrella of Global NCAP. So I've been very lucky to have such a rewarding and interesting area to work in. And it's been very satisfying to see the enormous progress, the huge strides forward that have been made, particularly over the last 10 years. And I think that should give us encouragement for the future.
So now you have rightly mentioned that we have just completed our first decade of action in December 2020, and now we are in the second decade of action. So what do you what expectations do you have for the new UN decade of action?
Well, yes, it was very, despite being in very difficult circumstances because of the COVID pandemic, last
Yeah.
year we had two extremely important events: the ministerial conference in Sweden, in Stockholm in February, and then in the summer, in August, I should say, the UN General Assembly adopted a resolution. And both of those events and those high-level decisions have created a new framework for road safety for the decade ahead. Most important of all is a really strong commitment to halve road deaths, excuse me, by 2030. That's actually a stronger commitment than we've ever had before. So it's pleasing to see the international community recognizing how important it is to set a measurable target like that, to try and benchmark our activities over the next 10 years. The other thing about both the resolution and the ministerial conference is I think we have a more advanced understanding of what works in road safety than we did 20 years ago, or even at the beginning of the previous decade. And I
Yes.
think the really important thing now is we understand far better that you've got to kind of act in a coordinated way, both on what road users are doing, how they behave on the roads, and looking at police enforcement issues and awareness. You've got to do a lot to improve the infrastructure to make it much, much safer. And you've got to do the same on vehicles. And it's the interaction of these things that I think we've learned will deliver a lot more. And I think we will, from that, if we can repeat that success, intensify that success,
Yes.
successful formula, I should say, over the next decade, then I think there's a very good chance we can halve road deaths by 2030. So I think there's a lot of opportunities. We've learned a lot. We've got a much better network of organizations. Governments, I think, are more active now than they've ever been. Certainly that's the case in India. So I'm quite optimistic that we will to try and cut in half the 1.3 million killed in road crashes every year.
Okay. So David, we have a one Varun Jaiswal who's I think viewing us from the YouTube. So he's saying hello, David sir. So you just say hello to
Hi.
our viewers also because now they are communicating and the message is also flashing on. So hello Varun. Thank you so much for connecting us. My next question to David you is that what role you think India can play in this new decade? And like you rightly said that now you have seen that India is progressing in road safety. So what role you are thinking that India can play in this road safety next decade of action?
Well, I think India has a vital role to play and quite a big opportunity. I mean, what we do know also is that political leadership is an absolutely critical ingredient to successful road
Yes.
safety. And there are country
Yes.
after country, you can see the ones that do better, they have strong political commitment to bring about the necessary changes to make roads safer. And so that's definitely one of the main characteristics we want to see. And I've been impressed over the last decade to see India sort of coming forward in that respect. Of course, India, unfortunately, in absolute numbers, you have the highest road deaths in the world. So, of course, I would say your leaders should be doing this. In the interest of everyone in India, it's important that they have been. And I've been impressed by the action taken, particularly in the area we've worked a lot in around vehicles, for instance. I've seen big improvements in the regulations around vehicles. There was also the successful passing of the Road Traffic Act. And I think that is a good framework for further action. And I would encourage the leadership in India, and of course, not just at the national government level, but state level is very important too, to keep going in this direction, because there is a lot to be gained. And actually, if we're going to hit globally the target to halve road deaths and injuries, we really need India to perform at the best it can.
Yes.
In a way, you're the country that will we will either succeed in the next decade or not, largely because what happens in India and one or two other countries. So it matters a great deal how you do. But as I say, I am optimistic. I was very pleased to have the opportunity to meet again Minister Gadkari in Stockholm last year. I've always enjoyed meeting with him. He always seemed to be very engaged. And I think he's a tough guy. He wasn't challenged too much. When car manufacturers complained about the vehicle standards, he just did it anyway, and I was pleased to see that. And you need robust leadership. I think there are clearly areas across the piece that India needs to do a lot more with, and those are things we can talk about later.
Yeah. So my next question is on your expertise actually about the vehicle safety. What progress has there been on vehicle safety in India? Like I think we do have now 5-star rating cars as well in India. So can you throw a light on that?
Yeah, well, it's interesting if you go back. I mean, sometimes I think you can forget how much progress has been achieved in really quite a little time. At the beginning of the decade of action, the previous one in 2011, India had no basic crash test standards. The best-selling cars were all substandard in terms of minimum UN level crash test standards, for example. And there was really no discussion about changing anything. I remember going to one of the UN meetings on vehicle regulations, and there was a representative from, in fact, from the Indian car manufacturers, Siam, was there. And then they said, well, yes, the Indian government would be introducing new crash test.
Yeah.
But there's no program to so, and we look cars in the market and just car zero stock them would fail and cause that's right. The story is completely different. Introduce the measures that have come in, and in parallel, we've seen manufacturers really stepping up and
David, are you listening me? Are you there? Hello? दोस्तों आई थिंक कुछ इंटरनेट का प्रॉब्लम हुआ है. डेविड गॉड हमारे साथ फिर से जुड़ रहे हैं. डेविड, आर यू लिसनिंग मी? हेलो, आर यू लिसनिंग मी?
Oops, I think we're having problems.
David, are you listening me? Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi,
Are you
did you
listening
lose
me?
some of that?
Yeah, I think internet
Yeah,
connection was.
is that okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, so I'm
So,
sorry, you might have missed what I was saying.
yeah. So my next question, when you was telling about the vehicle safety, what are the next priorities for safe vehicles in India? You think like that?
Yeah, well, as I was just saying that there's been this big improvement in crash test standards and cars starting like Tata and Mahindra getting 5-star cars. There are still some big improvements to come, and what we've seen in the evolution of vehicle safety is, first of all, there's improvements in what we call car occupant safety. So that's what happens when you have a crash. But of course, it's better not to have the crash at all. And so what we want to see is crash avoidance technologies. And the most important is electronic stability control. This is an anti-skid system which stops cars spinning off the road. And that technology can help avoid something like 40% of fatal run-off-the-road crashes. And we're pleased the Indian government have said that they're going to introduce it, and we strongly support this. It's very important also, this works not just in cars. It can be fitted to trucks, buses, all the different four-wheel vehicles. So the next big evolution should be that. And then I also would like to highlight on motorcycles, which is of course massively important. India has done very well to legislate for anti-lock brakes on motorcycles, which is a big step forward. But at the moment, as also in the European Union, that's for motorbikes above 125 cc's. And we would like to see ABS used in smaller bikes. So we think any motorcycle scooter that can do more than 50 kilometers an hour should be fitted with ABS. So those are the two big changes we'd like to see: the ESC for all four-wheel vehicles and ABS for a bigger range of motorcycles. We think those would be good priorities for India.
Yes, because we have a 74% of vehicle population is two-wheeler. And the people who are dying on road are the two-wheelers only. Like 41% of the deaths which we are having every year, the two-wheelers are the highest contributor.
Yeah.
So if two-wheeler safety, vehicle safety comes in India, it's like kind of a revolutionary thing gonna happen,
Yeah.
and we can achieve the targets also which we are seeking to
On that,
halving
maybe
the deaths.
I could just add that I think it's really important also, and I know that there's good work being done on this to promote helmet wearing and
Yes,
to have good quality helmets. And
yes,
helmets really are absolutely vital for all the riders.
yes.
It's a great pleasure. I've been traveling, coming to India almost every year. In fact, for the first time in 10 years, last year I didn't get to India because of the pandemic. But I've
Mm,
spent many hours on roads in India. And too often I've seen helmets only on one rider, typically the man at the front and no one
yes,
else. And we really need to see helmets on everybody, and also make sure they're tied up,
strapped.
strapped.
Yes,
And I think
yes,
those simple messages, they're very important. And the combination of safer motorbikes and helmets, you really can't emphasize this enough. And it should be
yeah,
backed by stronger police enforcement too.
yes, yes. So my next question is, what when will there be an Indian new car assessment program? What do you think?
Yeah, well, we've been very happy with the success of the Safer Cars for India program. And it is such a contrast when we started with all these zero-star cars, and now we're getting 4 and 5 star cars, and manufacturers competing with each other to do really well. The other exciting bit of news was um, Mahindra, their latest 5 star car, the X300. Um, they're now selling that in South Africa. And that also has been given 5 stars by our partner program there. So you have an Indian-made car getting the first ever 5 star car in Africa. So that's a
Yes,
wonderful bit of, if you like, South-South, global South success in road safety. It's very nice to see. So
yes,
of course, what we would like, though, we're often asked, why don't we test more cars? And the
hmm.
problem is we don't have the resources. We're very, very fortunate to be funded by Bloomberg Philanthropies and the FIA Foundation to help us do the testing we do.
Hmm.
And of
Hmm.
course, crash testing is expensive.
Hmm.
You can't sell the car after you've crashed it. And
Yes,
we do incur quite a lot of costs in a good cause. Of course, some manufacturers volunteer to have their cars tested to our standards, and that's extremely good. But we really would like to see many more vehicles being tested. And that would be
yes,
great if it was a permanent Indian NCAP program, which is what we always have wanted to see. Um,
yeah,
and I think the best way forward for that would be a new piece of legislation, which is we would be very keen if the Indian government would make it mandatory to display an NCAP label in new vehicles for sale. And if
okay.
there was a labeling requirement like that, it would massively increase the number of manufacturers who would want to get the cars tested. In the
Hmm.
US, there's a mandatory label, and also in
Okay.
Malaysia now. So
Hmm.
these would be good initiatives, and it would help the consumer, and it would be the big step forward to a permanent Indian or Bharat NCAP program.
Hmm. Because you have said about Indian car is first five-star car is selling in Africa, and we have a broad market if we develop our own Indian car assessment program. A former guest, Mr. Pushparaj Pant from University of Bristol, has just recently joined in last week. Also, he's a Nepali citizen, and he's a GRSP fellow as well, and is doing research in University of Bristol, UK only. He also said this, that India should come forward and become a leader at least in the subcontinent region, and because India has now global and give five-star rating cars, and India should come forward and sell these five-star rating cards to our countries, like we have Nepal, Bangladesh, and our neighboring countries. And now you said that Africa is also a market for us. So I think Prime Minister, our honorable Prime Minister, has this vision to make India, Atmanirbhar, independent. And I think we are going in right direction now. And yes, of course, we do have a very strong leadership right now. We do
Yeah.
have our honorable Prime Minister. He's very strong and he's very tough person, and he take decisions very clearly. And
Yeah.
followed by our transport minister, he is also doing the same thing, and he accepts things, and he knows what is the problem and what is the things required to do that, and he's doing that work very very independently and very dedicatedly, also with passion. I also
Yeah.
met him in Sweden as well, and he was very
Yeah.
interested at that time too. And recently, our honorable Prime Minister, has spoken about the road safety, and he asked every single person to come forward and join the movement. So, on that note, I have a just last question, which our viewer have asked you also, and it is also a message which I wanted to ask you. That he asked in a question frame. So, Mr. Varun Jaiswal has asked you that out of four E's that Morth is working on, I believe education plays very critical role, since it can be adopted by any aware citizen to spread among others. So, what are your views? That is, I think you can give as a message to road user that what role they can play to bring down the fatalities. Over to you.
Yeah, well, it's of course really important for all road users to accept their responsibility and to be aware of the road rules and to always stay within those legal boundaries. And there's, of course, a lot of skill involved in any kind of use of the road, learning to drive and so on, so appropriate driving skill standards and so on. So I think it is very, very critical. But I think the lesson which we call the so-called safe system approach is to
Yeah.
realize that all of these things are integrated, that
Yes.
you're going to have enforcement that works. You also have to have a supportive public. And
Yes.
we can see that enforcement without any public awareness is rather unpopular. Similarly,
Yes.
just public awareness without enforcement isn't very
It will
effective.
not.
So
Yes.
you actually have to have the combination of the two. And then you
Hmm.
get these multipliers, then things are
Yes.
even better. So it's clearly a critical part of the whole story. But I think my main point is that you have to orchestrate these things together,
Hmm.
including improvements in vehicle safety and
Yes.
road design. For example,
Yes.
some of the obvious mistakes that people make, people say, oh, well, it's human error. In fact, they may be led to those mistakes because of poor road design. So
Yes.
sometimes the mistakes are as much to do with the road design as they are with the road user. So I think the real lesson is a kind of integrated approach. We all have to try and work together, road authorities, the police, all the road safety NGOs, and the government and the car manufacturers. There's a shared common interest in trying to lift all of these efforts together. And I think that's where we will get these big multipliers. That's where success will lead to more success. And that's why, in the long run, I'm quite optimistic that we'll get there by 2030, and that India can really be the road safety champion. Let's hope by the time we reach 2030, I'll be getting rather old by then, but I'll look forward to India being declared the world champion of road safety by 2030.
I do pray that, and I'm very optimistic, and I'm very hopeful, because from I am also working from last 15 years now, and the journey in last 5 years, in fact, India has taken up in the current leadership is a commendable. Like you rightly said in the beginning of the decade of action, no one knows about the star rating and vehicle safety, and now we do have five-star approved cars on our roads, and we are on the way to become a manufacturer and sailing to the other countries as well. So we have already developed our institutional support and setups and things like that. So it was really nice talking you, David, and thank you so much. And please convey my regards to Emma also. She's good friend of mine. And are you listening?
Great.
Yeah. So it's now. Thank you so much, and I'm very hopeful that in the next 10 years, India will become a road safety champion and leader in at least in all parts of road safety, and make it as a safe system, implement safe system approach on ground. I'm very way forward looking. So thank you so much, David.
Thank you.
Have a
Yeah,
nice day.
take care and
Thank you.
keep doing the great work. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.
Cheers. Bye. Bye.
So, dear listeners, you were watching Mr. David Ward. He is a chairman of Tobert Zero Foundation organization. He is also running a global NCAVE program, which is a new car assessment program, and he has talked about the various issues which we have faced in last decade of action, and now we are moving forward. And he is very optimistic, and he is looking forward to our strong leadership, honorable prime minister and honorable transport minister. And he is very optimistic. He said that he is very optimistic that India will become a road safety champion by the 2030. And in the vehicle manufacturing and safe vehicle manufacturing, we already have global 5-star rating vehicles on our country, like Mahindra and Tata both have this, and other manufacturers are in the line to make the safe vehicles on our Indian roads. And even they are in on the way to sail it to the other countries, even Africa and our nearby continents. So I'm very looking. I'm also a very positive person. I'm looking forward, and just we need your support also, because until unless road users not support this program, results cannot be achieved. So thank you so much, and thank you Varunji for participating with us live chat. I hope you get your answers, and I'm looking forward you to also come and join us. Every day we have a 6:30 show. You can come and join us. Tomorrow we'll have another guest with us. And till then, be safe, stay blessed. This is Prerna Singh signing off now. Bye bye. Jai Hind.